Here's what your body type says about you and what you can do about it. Today, we're gonna go ahead and identify what your body type is and then what we can do about it to optimize for that body type.
Now, I already know what you're putting in the comments. No, like we're not saying soma types are a real thing. Like you're not gonna fit specifically under one of these categories, but this is more of just a simplified way to explain what sort of frame and body type you could have, because realistically, this is more of a spectrum. It's more like 0 to 100, where are you on the scale? It's not like you specifically fit into an ectomorph or a mesomorph or an endomorph. But rule of thumb is you're an ectomorph if you started skinny and you have to put in effort to gain weight. Mesomorphs sort of just stay around the middle, and endomorphs have to actively try to lose weight. But to get more specific, if you have these traits / signs, there's a good chance that you are an ectomorph, okay? And that's what we were at the beginning of our gym journey. So it's a naturally thin frame, narrow shoulders and hips, so you're usually just smaller in general. You usually have long limbs compared to the rest of your body. You have a fast metabolism, meaning your calorie maintenance is higher and you can usually eat a bit more. Everyone's wondering why you can eat so much and you just still stay shredded. It's hard for you to gain weight, obviously, as a byproduct of that. You have small joints, like small wrists, small elbow joints. The Fagan twins are a good example of this as well. They basically are like full potential ectomorphs, but they still carry some of the traits. So you'll notice like their elbow joints, wrist joints are still very skinny. And naturally you'll be at a low body fat percentage, like 10, 12%. I think everyone remembers the guy in school that was just shredded to the bones for no reason. And then a mesomorph, which is realistically probably like 80% of you guys, is just naturally kind of built, kind of muscular, has a little bit of definition starting out, slightly broader shoulders. You respond pretty quickly to training. These are usually like the jocks in high school, or like the naturally athletic guys. You have a narrow waist and a moderate body fat percentage, something like 15, 16%, like by default not being trained. And then an endomorph, you have wider waist and hips. You gain fat easily, like you just eat one little extra meal and all of a sudden you notice you gain fat. You envy the ectomorphs. You usually have slightly shorter limbs, a slower baseline metabolism, and you have a more rounded shape, like your body shape is more kind of circular or an opposite V taper. So what's the game plan moving forward for each body type? Because it is different and there are different strategies for each one. Usually it levels out and the strategy ends up the same, but it's usually like that first year of training that we have to do specific things depending on how you started. And then we usually like to get to a nice baseline before we move forward and build yourself a really good aesthetic physique. Just a disclaimer as well, it's gonna be way more specific than just one of these categories as to what you need to do. Realistically, you need to take a full open look at where you're at now, your weak points, your strong points, a game plan going forward. You can go to that first link in the description. We've actually opened up our physique analysis where you can go get your physique completely analyzed by us. It's a complete non-biased review of where you're at now and all the specifics, everything you need to know, plus the game plan going forward specifically catered towards you. So more broadly, what's the game plan if you're an ectomorph? So obviously we need to fill out our frame and build strength. So we need to gain weight. And ideally for training, which is something that we did right at the start, you want to be doing heavy compounds at the start with low reps to build up that strength, because with strength comes size. If you have a higher baseline level of strength, you need muscle to keep up with those demands. And for your diet, you need to bulk first at roughly a 300 to 500 calorie surplus. And we will never advocate for a dirty bulk, but if you are an ectomorph and you're just new to training, you can get away with a bigger surplus than most people because you have so much room to gain muscle and your newbie gains will come in so strong that ideally, if you're in a 500 calorie surplus every day, that will still get turned into muscle with still moderate fat gain. And then only when you hit a good level of muscle mass, like I'm talking 21, 22 FFMI, that's when you can cut back down, which obviously won't be hard for you because you're an ectomorph. Me, Nelson, it's like I just have to eat intuitively and I start to lose weight rapidly. I don't actually have to think about my cuts. I just sort of eat how I want and then I lose weight. I only have to actively think about my diet when I'm bulking. Okay, now for a mesomorph, which once again would be most of you, ideally the best way to go about this is a lean bulk, okay? We don't need to gain an excess amount of body fat, especially because we're already starting at like a moderate body fat percentage. There's no reason why we need to be gaining excess amounts of fat because you're only gonna have to strip it off anyway. And that's exactly what a lean bulk will do. You'll build muscle while maintaining a healthy body fat percentage. So when you come to your cut,
you don't have to strip off that much. And then for your training, there's a good chance you already have a good baseline level of strength, so we can focus more on hypertrophy, specific muscle groups, lacking muscle groups that you've got, but obviously we want to still be getting stronger every single time. And then finally, we've got Endomorph, which is where I think you need to put the most focus and emphasis on your diet and training. Because it's so hard for you guys to lose weight, you need to be really specific about what you're putting into your body. Now, the main goal here is to lose fat first. Okay, I know too many endomorphs or just guys that start off already overweight, and I'm talking very strict here, like I'm saying overweight is above 18% body fat, that try to do the lean bulk or try to put on muscle first. No, you need to get rid of the fat first. You need to get to a low body fat percentage, so then we have a good base to bulk up from. Because, okay, yeah, you lean bulk at 18% body fat. Okay, you gain a little bit of muscle, but now you're 19 or 20% body fat. Now what? You have to cut anyway. You have to cut even harder than if you would just cut at the start. So we need to cut first, get you down to 12, 11, even 10% body fat before we start to lean bulk. And I don't want to hear that you're scared you might lose a little bit of muscle, because if you're starting out or if you're overweight, you shouldn't even care about losing muscle. And no, you probably won't even lose any muscle. For training, we want to ideally just burn as much calories as we can while still focusing on hypertrophy. All right, just like all the other categories, we want to be trying to gain strength, but if you're on a calorie deficit, you might not be gaining strength, but you at least want to maintain strength. And actually, you have to put more emphasis on your training while you're on a cut to make sure that you don't lose strength, which means you would be losing muscle. This is super important that you track this. And then with your diet, I would ideally say if you're above 25% body fat, aggressive cut. You shouldn't be worried about losing muscle. You shouldn't be worried about cutting too quick. Get it out the way. You need to get lean ASAP so that you can start your lean bulk. If you're above like 30, 35% body fat, that's where like loose skin starts to come into play. So you still need to be a little bit careful about that. But only when you are truly lean, and don't cope about this, like truly lean, abs showing in natural lighting, that's when we start the lean bulk. Okay, don't be impatient with this. Please just get lean first. And while we're cutting, we want to also be low carb, high protein. Keep the protein high. We want to keep it at ideally 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. This also ensures that you don't lose any muscle while you're cutting weight. And that's it, guys. It's pretty simple, to be honest, and it doesn't have to be complicated. We just have to understand where we're starting. You could almost summarize it into gain muscle, lose weight, recomp. That's essentially all it is, okay? And it looks really simple on paper, but it's actually implementing it into your life where people struggle. If you are struggling and you've got the information, which you do have, don't lie to me because you're watching this channel and I know you've watched a few videos, but you're struggling with the implementation, book a free call, man. It's the second link in the description. You can talk to us completely for free and we can sort you out a game plan going forward, because we've wasted enough time, okay? It's time to get shredded. In Australia, summer's coming up, so we need to get shredded. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch yous in the next one. Peace.